Hello and welcome back to Speakerstack Music. So in this video I'm going to show you how I've created an organ in Ableton 12. This organ is one of many instruments that are featured on a electro rock song that I've recently created, produced and released on YouTube. The electro rock song is called Jungle Shaker, and if you're interested in checking it out there'll be a link at the end of this video. There'll also be a link at the end of this video to the playlist, which features all the videos in this series where I've broken down each instrument within this song and how I've created it in Ableton 12. So I'm going to give you a quick blast of the organ sound so you can hear the instrument in the context of the song, and then also I'm going to solo it so you can hear it by itself as well. So that's the organ sound. This is an electro rock song. It's a mixture of two genres. You've got an electronic music element to it and you've got a rock element to it. The organ was kind of I was coming at it from wanting a traditional rock organ sound in the track to fill out the sound. I haven't really incorporated it in as a lead instrument, so you could probably hear from that sample of the song that it actually is quite deep in the mix. I've done that on purpose. There are other instruments in here which operate as leads in the track, and they're covered in other videos. This organ really is about adding texture and filling out the song. So I've created it using Ableton 12's analog instrument, which is available in the suite version of Ableton 12, and you can find the analog instrument by clicking on this button up here and opening up the instrument and effects racks that you've got down this side here, and all the preset sounds, etc. Ableton's analog instrument comes with a kind of a suite of other sounds that you can create. These are pre-created ones that you can pick. Got bass synths, all sorts of synthesizers, string sounds, lead sounds, etc., etc. But if you close that down and then just click on the analog bit itself and drag it in, you just get a template. And that isn't really going to do much with the sounds that you've got unless you start messing with the parameters. So you won't see these settings set like they are here when you drop it first in. You have to go in and adjust them. But the great thing about it is you can kind of create the analog sound that you're looking for. And I wanted a particular organ sound, which is why I've kind of made the sound from scratch using the analog instrument. So I'm not going to go too deeply into how you use the analog instrument. I'll cover that in a different video. But what the analog instrument essentially is it emulates a wavetable synthesizer. So it has an oscillator here, and we've got both of those turned on, and we've got them both set to what's known as a sawtooth wave here. These are essentially parameters that tell Ableton how to treat the sound in the wavetable synth. I've actually got the second oscillator set an octave higher down here. And then in the other sections you've got a filter section, you've got an amp section, you've got an LFO section which I've turned off, and you've got a global parameter section down here, and then you've got an envelope section. Just click on the filter, whoops. Click on the filter and that opens up the envelope, and that's essentially you telling Ableton what to do with the sound. So I'll talk you through how I've set those up. We've talked about the shape, we've got a sawtooth shape. I haven't changed anything in terms of the octave on the oscillator 1, but we've got the octave on the oscillator 2 set to an octave higher. Haven't detuned it or anything like that. On the filter section we've just got one filter going. We've got an LP24, we've got frequency set at 190, we've got resonance set at 44. The higher the resonance, the more you're kind of opening out the sound, the more you're moving away from that kind of natural warmth that you'd get in certain synthesizers. The level on the amp, I haven't panned it because I'm panning it in the mixer, or I plan to pan it in the mixer. I've got the level set at minus 18 decibels, but I think that is the default setting that you have when you drop it in anyway. And I've increased the volume to 0 decibels. But again, I'm controlling the volume of the instrument in the mixer. And then in the global parameters section, we've got 3 different parameters here. You've got VIB, which is vibrato. We've got NUI, which is unison, and we've got GLI, which is glide. It's got the vibrato set at 11%, the unison set at 14, and the glide set at 50. And then finally, for the envelope section, which is this here, you'll see you've got essentially four parameters. You've got your attack, your delay, your sustain, and your release. Now, if you open up the information window, it'll tell you what each of those things essentially does. The attack, you can see I've got that set to 5 ms, which is milliseconds. That's a high level of attack. So what we're saying is we don't want the note to phase in gradually. We want the note to reach maximum velocity or attack as quickly as it can, as soon as you've pressed the note or drawn the note in and it's reached that point in the track. So that's set at 5 ms. The decay, this is essentially how long it takes once you've pressed the note for it to sustain, and we've got that set at 15 seconds. That's the maximum you can do on the decay, if you just see there. Then you've got the sustain, which is set at 1. This is the level, so 1 is the highest point in the level, that the sustain will remain once the note is no longer pressed. So the point where you lift your finger off the note on the keyboard, or if you've drawn it in where the note ends, at that point where it stops, how long the actual sound will sustain after that. And we've got that set to the maximum amount of sustain, which is 1. And then finally, after it's sustained, the release is set at 15 seconds, and the release is down here. And the release is basically how long it takes the filter to reach 0 after the note key is released. Okay, so how long it takes for it all to kind of reset back to 0, and we've got that at 15 seconds. So these are sounds that these are parameters that you would want to apply to your pad, because it sustains the sound. So you're going for that organ sound, that sustained sound. Okay. Then if you look at the EQ8, so this is positioned quite high in the frequency spectrum. We've got a high pass low cut filter set at about 600 Hertz, and then we've got the high cut low pass filter set at just after 10,000 Hertz. So all the sound below here is going to be cut out, and all the sound above here is going to be cut out. But there's a lot down here in the song in terms of the other instruments. So we wanted to position the organ higher up in the frequency spectrum. And I also needed to bear in mind that we have a mid pad down here, which is quite a distorted, powerful synth, as you can hear, and that is set. Let's just get the mid pad. Okay, where's the, yeah, so that actually is set a bit lower, so that's in the kind of low to mid range, whereas the organ is set in the kind of mid to high range. Okay, so that was kind of done on purpose. That was what I was trying to achieve in that. Then in terms of the other instruments, that's the mid pad. Let's just scroll down. In terms of the other effects, on the pad, on the organ, we've got a chorus, we've got a soft reducer, which essentially is taking some of the decibel levels off the organ sound. And then finally we've got a reverb set at 30%. So again, I haven't done much to the reverb, just dropped it in, set it at 30%. The soft reducer, set the threshold at 15.6, minus 15.6 decibels, just to take some of the heat off it. And again, the chorus, I don't think I've done much to that. I've literally just dropped it in just to thicken the sound in the organ. The other thing to say on the organ is the chords that I'm playing in are kind of juxtaposed against the chords that we've got going on with the mid pad down here. So the mid pad was really following the root notes of the song, which was F, D sharp, and then A sharp, whereas the organ, I've gone for minor chords. So you've got an F minor here, then you've got a C minor here, and then finally you've got a G minor here. And that's just to combine them, juxtapose them together, make them a little bit different, slight variation in the sound, which I think has worked quite well. So yeah, if I just blast it out again, you'll hear how that does sound different to the chords that I selected for the kind of mid-range pad that we talked about in the previous video. Very minor sound there for the organ. So the mid pad is really based around that kind of traditional blues, cascading blues sequence of chords, I guess, from an F to a D sharp to an A sharp, whereas the organ sound is going from a F minor to a C minor to a G minor. Yeah. So that's how I've created the organ. I hope that was useful. If it has been useful and you've enjoyed the video and got something from it, it would be awesome if you could give it a thumbs up. And if you also found this helpful, or have found any of the other videos in the playlist helpful and you want more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for listening to it. Thanks for watching. Hope it's been informative. It's been great to have you with us, and hopefully see you in the next video.